What's up, everybody? Jamie here. We have a brand new show for you with the Comic Character Day crew called Codex's Comic Character of the Week. I'm Jamie, obviously your host. With me are some familiar and unfamiliar faces. But first off, we got Sal, the slab fairy or slab guy, as you want to call him. Up to you. I prefer the fairy because he just leaves me slabs under my pillow every night. We also got Dan Kelly here, and also the guy who started it all, Comic Character Day founder, Archduke Kevin.
Woo!
But guys, how are we doing today for the first show? You guys ready?
Yeah,
Ready.
yeah, man, we're ready.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, Sal, let's start it off. You got your own comic channel too.
Oh.
Where can we find you?
Oh, yeah, okay. I thought you were gonna pitch the Codex stuff first, but that's cool.
Go ahead. I got this at the end.
All right, no problem. You can find me at Sal's Comic Corner on YouTube. Obviously, I have my slabs out here in the corner. I do mail call videos, I do wrap up stuff, and I do book prep videos as well.
All right, Dan, where can we find you with your art?
You can go to Instagram. It's Dan Kelly Art. You can just do hashtag Dan Kelly Art, and my stuff will come up. And just click on it, take you to my page. Commissions are open, and that's Kelly with an EY.
All right, awesome. And the reason this is all happening, Kevin, tell us where we can find Comic Character Day and what it was all about.
Hey guys, I created a group on Facebook called Comic Character of the Day. I kind of started putting it on a different group that shall not be named. And I decided to start posting some characters that I thought were underrated and needed more love. And from there, I decided to carpe my own diem, if you know what I mean, and start it on my own. Start my own group and started building it from there. And I'm pretty proud of the community that has been built up around it. I'm very proud of the level of non-toxicity
Yes.
in my group,
Yeah.
comparatively to a lot of different fan-based internet organizations out there. And we'd love to have you join. Once again, Comic Character of the Day on Facebook. Come on and join the family.
Yes, and don't forget, guys, you guys can find us at thecodexstation.com, your one-stop shop for everything Codex. Meet the team, message us, let us know what you're liking, what you're not liking. Get some merch too, because every little bit helps with this channel, helping it grow. It takes a great community. You guys have been amazing so far, and you guys have done more than enough, and I love every single one of you for it. So guys, keep subscribing, following. We're almost there on both YouTube at 1,000, and we're almost there for Twitch now at 50. We're going to be hopefully here soon with more. So make sure to subscribe, follow, like, find us on all podcasting platforms too, from Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Cast, Pocket Chrome, whatever you need. You can listen to us on the go as well. But without further ado, let's get into Codex Comic Character of the Week. And who is the first character we are going over? Dan.
Oh,
Yeah, Dan, that's you, Dan.
first show. Too. All right. Yeah. So going to one of the most popular comic characters that are out there, maybe the most popular, as Jamie is showing, the Batman, the original one, Bruce Wayne. First appearance, Detective Comics number 27, all the way back in 1939.
Wow.
Back then, he had purple gloves and he carried a gun and shot people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot different now. I'll brush over the origin real quick because I think everybody knows it. Bruce Wayne was from a rich family, the Waynes. His parents took him to the movies to see The Mask of Zorro. They left the movies in an alley. They got held up by a criminal named Joe Chill, tried to rob them. He shot and killed Bruce Wayne's parents, left him alive, and he was raised by his butler, Alfred, traveled the world, learning martial arts, detective skills, anything he could get his hands on to learn to make him the best vigilante there would be, and he went back to Gotham and became Batman.
Nice.
Yeah.
And, for those who have not seen any of the movie renditions, you will see that opening origin in about every single movie that you could
Yeah.
find. for
Every
Batman
single one.
and every comic flashback and also every video game. Am I missing stuff? I'm thinking like I'm missing
Cartoons.
cartoon. Maybe if you sleep at night, like unlike me, you have dreams about it because you've seen it so many times. Uh, so yeah, guys, the origin is one well known, put it bluntly.
So-
See every
Okay.
medium.
Jamie, do
Yeah.
you wake up saying, I'm Batman?
I wake up saying, no, not again. But
I am vengeance.
we've had this whole, I don't know, illustrious legacy of Batman. And, one of the things that we try to look at is where do characters fit best? And Kevin, I mean, what's your take on this for as far as like scenarios go? Where would it work best for Batman?
Well, my opinion is I think that Batman would work best as an urban legend. I think the idea of him taking out an entire crew with nobody knowing what the hell is going on is just the best way to portray him. Like occasionally, yes, like have him come out of the shadows, like, oh damn, having the intimidation, but having him front and center as like an iconic member of the Justice League, I think does the character a disservice. He, I think he would. I don't want to say is less effective because it's still Batman, but like comparatively to somebody who can travel or can run at 186,000 miles per second and somebody who can contain galaxies in their bare hands and survive nuclear explosions and goddesses. They, yes, they still go out of their way to write him like incredibly effective, but I think Batman would work best as like a strategist. One of the things that they had is right after one of the crises, Zatanna mind wiped, did some questionable
Identity crisis.
Yeah,
Thank you.
identity.
Did some questionable decisions and wiped out the Justice League's memory of that. And Batman still had a way of figuring out the Justice League is suspect and pulled himself away from the Justice League. And they had a panel where they were all arguing, and Batman was on the monitor and says, "Shut up! This is what you're gonna do," and explain everything. And then like Batman out and shut it off, and everyone's just standing there, mouths agape, like, "How the hell does he do that?" And Superman was like, "He's always right." That I think is the best way to handle Batman. Like have him be the oracle of the Justice League, but having him be like the like right in front of everything, it diminishes his the best way I think to portray him, which is a creature of the night and an urban legend and somebody who operates out of the shadows and has people turn around in the middle of a conversation and he's no longer there because he got everything he needed out of that conversation.
Right.
So,
And
I think, yeah, go ahead.
I do agree with you on that aspect because, like I said, that would be a good way to portray him, especially as that front leader. You know what I mean? Like, he is the one that's got the plan. Batman,
Yeah.
for those who don't know, is prepped,
Yes.
But-
Batman is prepped.
Yeah. Dan, what do you think about scenario-wise? Where's he best fit?
Yeah, I agree with Kev that it just doesn't make like as great as Batman is, it doesn't make any sense to have him out in space fighting Darkseid or all these mega powered gods. Like at the end of the day, there's this Alex Ross painting that's great when Bruce Wayne like takes off the cape and cowl and the shirt, and you just kind of see him looking back and his back, and it's just covered in scars.
Yep.
You don't get that with Superman. Like Batman is just a guy. I find that he works best for me when he is utilizing like not just his martial arts training, but especially his detective stuff and all that. And when he's operating in Gotham and and dealing with those threats, and especially the way they've done it the past couple years, where he has, he's got all the sidekicks and stuff, and all the the kind of other characters like Batwoman that have kind of come in, and it's like almost this this like small urban army that he's put together to patrol this city and like the neighboring cities and all that. So I think he works best that way, not necessarily fighting, physically fighting these massively overpowered characters, like the Justice League crossover, or the Justice League story, Tower of Babel, when Ra's al Ghul almost destroyed the whole Justice League, and it was because he found the plans that Batman had to take them all out. Like, that's the kind of paranoia that he has too, where it's like, all right, I'm going to have a plan to take out every superpowered character out there in case they go bad.
Right.
Like that kind of that detective skills, but also that like massive paranoia that he has about everything too.
Again, feeding off like you said with Kevin. I mean, that's, you can't ask for anything more, especially that. To me, that's an iconic panel of the Batman looking over his shoulder, just Bruce, and it isn't Batman anymore. It's Bruce Wayne at that point, just looking over his shoulder, seeing all the scars and being like, all of this for what I do.
Yeah, Superman doesn't have that, and Superman looks at the best in everyone. Batman looks at everyone and he's like, all right, if you go bad, this is how I'm going to take you out.
Right.
All right, Sal, what do you think, bud? Where does it fit best? Where does the Batman?
The Batman. Well,
Batman.
I'm gonna have to agree with everybody else. He does work best in the shadows, in undercover. I don't mind as much when he goes against these super powered villains and stuff like that, because every single time the superpowered villains will always overlook him. Oh, it's just a pitiful human. I don't even really worry about you. And then that's where his best work comes in, because not only does he whatever he needs to do to take out the person or do the job, it's like everybody's freaked out, like, holy crap, you just knocked out Darkseid or whatever, So I don't mind that, but him disappearing in a conversation because he's got what he needed, him coming out of the shadows to kick the crap out of somebody, that's the essence of Batman. And you're right, Batman or Bruce Wayne trusts no one except maybe his immediate family. He trusts no one. He sees the worst in everybody and makes plans to take them out if they ever become a threat. So he's almost a polar opposite in personality with Superman, where Superman always wants to see the best in everybody and bring the best out of everybody out. Batman does not do that. So
one of the things that's good. One of the things that you said that brought up a memory. There was one of the first storylines of the Grant Morrison Justice League with the White Martians. The White Martians captured everybody, all the Justice League members, and they're like, "There's something missing. What? Batman's not here." And Superman was just smiling, and one of the White Martians is like, "What are you smiling about? He's just one human." He's like, "The most dangerous human to have ever existed." Yes, you're screwed. It's like, that's awesome.
Yeah, because the Martians thought they killed him, and they were like, Superman was like, "Nope, you gotta get weapons."
You're about to have your ass handed to you.
That was great.
Right, but so I mean, you guys have all agreed. I am taking a different approach on this.
Uh-oh.
I'm being the odd man out. Now I agree with you.
Oh, the contrarian.
This is good. Devil's advocate. Go.
He does work best in the shadows, but I think he fits the best role as the detective himself. We strayed away from that aspect of Batman for a long time. It's in what you guys have alluded to. He's in and out. He's from the shadows to the villain or a bunch of criminals. Then he's back out. Mm-hmm. But we haven't seen in a long time him actually have to find a way. He at the end of the story, he's like, "Yeah, I figured it out about 20 minutes ago." Well, how did you figure it out? And when you had those stories where Batman actually had to figure his part out, to me, are the best storylines. And we'll get into more of those storylines later. But having to, be a detective, having to showcase why you're the best is my best version of Batman. 100%. You know, either it's cool to see him on 37 splash pages on an 80-page giant beating the crap out of, you know, Killer Croc and everybody else. But how did you get there? You know, with no explanation other than, you know, I beat Superman because I'm chewing kryptonite gum for the last 17 years. You know, that, well, where'd you come up with that idea from?
Yeah.
You know,
I
So
have
you're
it in
saying-
my pocket. Sorry.
So you're saying you want more of the minutia?
yeah, I want that
process.
essence. You
That's
know,
You want to see the process.
yeah, I want to
no.
see how everything unfolds. I want to see that step by step where we kind of lost that frame of thought where Batman now is just a guy that if Batman shows up, Batman's winning. Well, how does
Yes.
Batman show up and win?
That makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense, actually. They haven't really delved into that in a long time. You're right. Good point.
It's almost like like an episode of House where it's all this, and at the very end, it's like, oh, here's this light bulb where I just immediately figured out everything.
Yeah.
And it's like Jimmy Neutron where it's like going into his ear and then you just see all like the brain cells working and it's like, oh, gonna blast. No, why? How'd you figure it out?
Yeah.
How'd you get to point A to point B? We went from A to Z. Like
Yeah.
we went to
Well,
A
no,
to Kapow.
That sounds like that recent 3-issue miniseries, Three Jokers. There's a line at the very end of it when they say something about, you know, I think it was in that where they say something about knowing the Joker's real name, and Batman says,
Yes. I've known it for years.
He's like, I've known his real name since after the first time I faced him. And somebody, either it was Batgirl or somebody asked him why he never did anything about it. He's like, because who he was it doesn't matter.
Not
It didn't
anymore.
matter who he was then. But it's like, all right, well, how did you figure that out?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You get to those points where you're sitting there and you're like, this was a cool issue. He did X, Y, and Z. And then you sit back and you kind of have that thought process of, well, how did he get to that point? Like, why is Batman just coming in and being like, I figured out the meaning of life? Well, how did Batman figure out the meaning of life? Was he sitting in front of the back computer all day and translated it for us? No. You tell me how he got to this point. Those are the stories that make the arcs to me.
I think it has something to do with the writers too, because, you know, if you're writing the character that's the cleverest, smartest, best detective in the world, you might be a good writer, but you're not that. So it's trying to find a way to write it and be believable that it would be that. I think
I have
it's
the answer.
more of a challenge.
What is it, Kevin?
Batman is a genius. He has a photographic memory, and he retained everything that he absorbed while sitting in the Mobius chair. Boom!
Fair
I
enough.
thought New 52 didn't count.
Yeah.
New 52. Though.
Everyone tells me New 52 doesn't count, and I'm collecting all of New 52, and it counts to me. It's real.
No, it's great stuff. Well, most
According to
of it.
DC now, everything counts.
Yeah,
Mm.
unfortunately.
So Jamie,
those-
Tone's got a point in the chat. If you take a look at it, it
Yeah.
could be a very slow book trying to explain all that.
Depends
Yeah,
on how
and-
it's written.
And,
Because if
that's
you look at the movie Seven, you know, it would be like the movie Seven with them trying to figure everything out.
and I'm not saying you have to go detail by detail in this at all. Like you don't have to be one of those guys that has to script out like 37, speaking bubbles for it, but give us a linear answer, like on why we got to this point.
Right. But that's a good point, Tom.
That series, Batman's Grave, kind of dealt with that, where it showed more. Of
And
his,
I thought that was amazing before, everything
yeah.
went down with the writer. So, but
yeah.
speaking of moments in time, let's talk about some of the best moments we've seen. And Sal, why don't you kick that off for us?
So some of the badass moments we're
Yes.
talking.
Are we gonna do it 1-1-1 or 3-3-3-3-2?
Yeah, we can go that route. If you guys got the same ones, just say, so and so had the same one as me.
So
Sounds good.
Badass moments. Let me see. I have my 3 best reads or 3 best stories that I should be checked out. What did I say for badass moment? Jeez.
You need a
I can
phone
take it
friend?
while you think.
Yeah, dude.
Okay,
go to the
so-
next.
One of mine, I'll start this one off. One of my first ones is after I'm gonna say his name. Everyone giggle. Dick Grayson as Nightwing. gets shot in the head by KG Beast.
No,
Batman loses it and leaves KG Beast in a trail of his own blood, basically beaten and battered near death, where KG Beast is literally begging for him to kill him, and he's like, "No." He's like, "I'm just gonna leave you as you are. Then, like, we're not. You've suffered enough."
in the
That'd
middle
be
of no.
in the middle of it, like a cabin.
Yeah.
And then we have, for me, obviously the breaking of the back from Bane. That comes in at my number 2 of most badass moments of all time for Batman. And then number 3 would be the very first fight between him and the Red Hood before he figured out it was Jason Todd.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was a good that was a good series or a good storyline right after Hush.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it to me, that's always going to be my standout series, no matter what. But those
And
are my
I think
top
it was written
3.
by the guy from it was written by one of the guys from the Real World.
Oh yeah,
Was it
Judd
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 Winnick?
Winnick, yeah, he was on the Real World.
It was.
Yes. So Dan, what do you got for top 3, bud?
I've got one of them that Kevin mentioned earlier with the Martians in that JLA one, where they, like, towards the beginning they shot the Batwing down and they're like, all right, it blew up, it's in flames, he's dead. Batman's kind of absent for a while, and then he shows up, and it kind of goes into detective skills, and you don't really see the process, like, you know, kind of how Jamie was talking, but he walks you through it where he says, he's like, all right, superpowers, this. He's like, you're Martians. And they say, oh, what do you, and he had like poured all this liquid on the ground, and they come out and he goes, and they're like, oh, what are you going to do? And he's like, and he just strikes a match and drops it in the gasoline, and whoosh, and like they're all pretty much just taken out from that because Martian's weakness is fire. And it was just that kind of, you know, they thought nothing of him, and just the detective skills where he figured out who it was, and like, yep, all I need is a gas can and a match, and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
It was the line that he used with Martian Manhunter when he was breaking down the, like, how to take out
Yeah.
the other members of the Justice League.
There was one from the end of Dark Knight Returns when he's beating Superman and he just beats the pulp out of him. And I forget what the exact line is, but he tells him something to the effect like, you know, I want you to remember who did this to you. Like, it wasn't some big superpowered guy or this or that. Like, it was just an ordinary old man that just, you know, that beat the piss out of you.
Martha!
And then I will say I have an honorable mention. It was just the JLA story where they had like all the Justice League apparently were dead, but they were like trapped in the past in Atlantis, and Nightwing had to get a new team together, and Green Arrow was one of them, and they had this big video on the screen where Batman's kind of going over everything, and Green Arrow's just kind of running his mouth and talking snarky, and then Batman in the video just screams, "Shut up, Queen!" Like, he's dead and he's trapped in the past and all this. And in this pre-recorded video, he knew that Green Arrow was just going to be running his mouth like an ass.
That's awesome.
And then Jamie, as a Lantern fan, will appreciate, you know, my last one is from the Justice League series when Guy Gardner was running his mouth and Batman knocks him out with one punch, and Blue Beetle standing off to the back just laughing his butt off, going, "One punch!"
One punch.
That was great.
All right.
Like, he's got the greatest
admit,
weapon, the most powerful weapon in the world on his finger, and Batman takes him out with one punch.
Mhm.
I
What's
have
up,
to
Sal?
admit that was one of the ones I have written down for badass moments.
Nice.
I have to.
It's
I
such a
have
great
to.
visual too.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's great. That was Justice League number 5. Came out in 1987.
Damn.
So that's a good one. Another badass moment I thought was for him was in the story Hush, where he throws Lois Lane off the building to break Superman out of Poison Ivy's spell. I mean, that's cold. That's
He's like, don't need this anymore.
Boop. So,
Like Catwoman's up on there, like, "Are you sure?
sure about this?
Okay.
Do it.
This better work.
Yep. And the other moment I also Dan mentioned was in Dark Knight Returns, where he was like, "I just want to let you know it was me that beat you today." So
Yeah.
All right, and Kev, what do you got, bud?
I got number 3. It was an episode of the two-parter Justice League episode, Injustice for All,
Okay.
where the Injustice Society captures Batman, and they're like, every one of them is going in to guard him, and like Batman is just there breaking them down psychologically, messing with them, and getting them on his side. Like he had a cheetah go in, and Batman's just like flirting with her, and she's like, "Oh, okay." And then like everybody, he's learning their weaknesses, he's getting in their heads, and just like, okay, now I know how to mess with you this way, that way, and the other way. I got you where I want you. And then at the end, Joker goes in to, Joker's like, I know Batman, I know all about him. This is like, I'm not going to fall for psychological tricks. I'm just going to go in and straight up kill the guy. And he goes in, and Batman's no longer there. And he's like, where are you? And then he like turns around and Batman's standing right there in front of him. And he's like, how the hell did you escape? Like, I could have escaped at any time. I was just trying to find out everything about all of you. And he's like, oh, damn. And then, Batman knocks him out. But I'm like, that was like such a cool moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is when he's in Batman, A Dark Knight Returns, is when he's fighting the mutant leader.
Oh yeah.
And he's like,
That's cool.
you don't get it, son. This isn't a mud pit. It's just an operating table. And I'm the surgeon. And he breaks like 4 of these bones and like knocks him the hell out. And he kind of gets up and he looks at all the rest of the mutants and they're like, not only do they like, nope, but at that point they turn around and become like the sons of Batman. It was like, no.
It became his army.
Right, exactly. That's so cool. And the number 1 is, for me, is from the Superman Batman Apocalypse story, where Batman or Superman is fighting Apocalypse to a standstill. No one's getting the upper hand. Batman just goes over to Apocalypse, is like, surrender. He's like, what? You're a human. You got nothing. Why should I even like pay attention to you? It's like, because I just armed all of the Hellspawn bombs in your armory. One of them could take out half a planet. I just reprogrammed all of them. And Apocalypse was like, there's no way you could have done that. Like, I have all the codes. It's like, yeah, I reprogrammed all the codes. Batman Alpha Omega 3172, and he hears like the armory going like armed. It's like, surrender. Like, I have never encountered anybody like he gained the respect of somebody who can like go toe to toe with Superman. Is like, I got nothing. I mean, Apocalypse or Darkseid beats the crap out of Batman, but he doesn't kill him. And he's like, you're not gonna mess with Superman. You're not gonna mess with me. You're not gonna mess with Supergirl, and you're not gonna mess with Earth again. He's like, fine. Like that was the number 1 badass moment. Like there's nothing that I can compare to that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many badass moments with Batman. We can make a list for probably days on that. But
Right.
I want to kind of get into some of the critiques you guys got about him on this aspect, because they could be as great as possible, but there's always going to be a downside to every character. So Kevin, I'll let you start this one off, bud.
I gotta say, I think one of my biggest critiques of Batman is like, okay, that way when he goes up against Apocalypse, he's able to set up things and psychologically mess with him. What I really find annoying is when writers write Batman where it's like, I'm going up against the entire xenomorph aliens army, or I'm going to go up against a god and win. I'm going to go up against the entire, like they I respect the way they write his prep time, but it's not a superpower. Like they make him too superhuman for somebody with no powers. It's
Yeah.
just it's a little bit silly at that point. Yeah, I'd say the weakness is in the writing. They people love Batman too much, and they give too much credence um to prep time. Yeah. Like they said, like, no. In prep time, Batman can take out Spider-Man. Like, no, he can't. I'm sorry. Like
Oh
between
yeah, the
the
prep time he could take out Superman. Like, no,
yeah,
Superman can fly up into space and shoot him with his laser eyes, before Batman.
He just homelandered Batman at that
Yeah.
point.
Batman was taking a nap.
during the Hush storyline, Batman said, the only reason I've ever been able to like go near Superman is Superman was holding back. He let me. If Superman wanted to, I'd be a stain on the sidewalk. There's no way.
Yeah.
So that's at least given a little bit of realism to that. It's like, yeah, no, Superman would, yeah, Batman is they write Batman too powerful. It would be my biggest critique for the character.
All right. Well, Sal, what do you think?
I kind of have to agree. I kind of think they overdo the information. Like I understand the reasoning behind it. He's the world's greatest detective, but there's still a time factor to obtain that knowledge, disseminate that knowledge, make appropriate plans with that knowledge, and that in that time frame is unknown. The time frame is unknown, and it goes from oh, this new bad guy's in town, yada yada yada. By the end of the issue, Batman has him solved, locked up, and contained. Boom, end of story. And we don't see the I guess the dissemination or the absorption of the information, and then figuring out, oh, this is what I got to do. I got to do X, Y, and Z. But that in normal time, that probably takes a lot of time. Granted, for a normal person, it probably takes a lot of time to figure this out. Maybe his time is shorter, being the genius intellect, photographic memory, yada yada yada, whatever you got. But that still takes time, and he's always out on patrol. He's always doing something else. If he's not out patrolling or beating up somebody, he's in bed asleep because he's just worn his body out to the point of exhaustion. So that's how I feel. That's what I think.
Fair. Although with that, they kind of established that like Batman has mastered like a Tibetan monk meditation technique where he only needs a short amount of sleep per day comparatively. But so that explains a little bit of
True.
his
I mean, that is a real thing too. So.
Yeah.
Dan, what's your thoughts?
My biggest criticism of the character is he spends too much time getting all these damn kids to go out there and fight criminals. He's taking all these children and be like, hey, I know I'm dressed where I can just kind of take a step back and melt into the shadows, but I'm going to dress you up in bright green and red and yellow and like some booty shorts.
That reminds me of that joke.
Boots. And yeah, just like we know why they did it with Dick Grayson originally as Robin. They're like, oh, this will appeal to younger readers. That's when they were giving everybody sidekicks. But then like the way that they kept doing it, like, oh, and here's Jason Todd. Oh, and here's Tim Drake. And oh, here's your son Damian. And oh, here's Stephanie. And here's this like, man, somebody needs to call Child Protective Services on you. You can having all these kids run around at night, jumping around building to building, getting shot at by psychopaths.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
so there was
you might want to rethink that.
There was a meme out there that said Alfred was asking, Master Wayne, why do you wear such dark colors? He goes, so I don't get shot. And he goes, well, why is Robin dressed in bright colors? He goes, so I don't get shot.
There was that cool thing in Dark Knight Returns when he explained something about the yellow symbol on his chest, and he said, "Yeah, he's like, that's where I put the extra armor because that's the target."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, that's kind of Robin. Like, yeah, that's the target. Go stand in front, boy.
yeah, I mean, good points on those. I'm gonna go a little bit of a different direction on that one.
Okay.
And it does pertain to the character. I just think the oversaturation of Batman in media, in comics, has become absurd to me. Anyone that wants to try to boost sales, this issue has Batman, and we need to boost this team. Put Batman on the team, and
He's
then we have
of DC.
Yeah, and then you
DC's
literally
plan coming out of the pandemic to get themselves going again was Batman all the time. And I talk about it with the guy at the comic shop every week. Like every week you can look at the shelf and there's at least 5 different Batman books or like Batman related with Harley Quinn and Joker and Nightwing. I was like, I love Batman. He's my second favorite character. It's too much. There's too much of it. Just it's like you said, it's oversaturation, and comics are expensive now. I don't have money to buy all that.
Right. What else were you going to say there, Jamie?
Oh, I was going to say that it's coming to a point where it's like, I get the whole pandemic aspect. I do. I understand you want to boost sales. You're going to do what you're bleeding. Man, we've been out of that closure for a while now.
Yeah.
And why do I have 12 books with Batman in it? Like, I now have to kind of pick and choose which ones I'm going to try to grab and which ones I'm not because of that fact. And then you go into any type of medium, Batman still finds a way to be like, I'm here. And then they're like, oh, we saw Batman. To me, you can utilize marketing skills and everything else and still promote other characters and make them your big brand. At one point, Hal Jordan Green Lantern was the biggest. One point, again, Kyle Rayner. You look at the Barry Allen, the Wally West. You look at, Wonder Woman, Wonder Girl. You can use X, Y, and Z and fill in that gap, but to take Batman as your primary and now you're just insert here into this book and have no reason for him to be there is just stupid to me. It's a waste of page.
Yeah.
It's like Wolverine and the Punisher in the 90s.
That's the thing for me is DC seems to be focusing upon like Harley Quinn, Batman, and Suicide Squad. That's their major focus lately, and I think it's doing a huge disservice to a bunch of great characters that aren't getting the love that they need.
Yeah.
What also does a disservice to Batman himself, because when you have, like I said, comics, I don't have enough money to read them all. And when you have, 5 different, books every week and you have to pick and choose what you're going to get, it's like, you know what, there might be a great series, but I'm not going to get it because there's just too many of them. If they limited it more, like they just did one anthology book and said, all right, instead of this mini,
and they have an anthology book, it's called Urban Legend.
Yeah, and if they just kept the stuff to that and said, if we have something like, if they put something as its own miniseries, it's like saying, hey, this thing is really special, so we have to make it its own thing. Like, yeah, these ones in the anthology are good, but this one, it's like, oh, that one gets its own book. Like, all right, I might have to check it out.
And the other thing with that is it's hard when they do it that way because when, let's say, they're coming out with 5 different Batman books a week, and one of them is like, this is one of the best stories I've read in years. Like, this is like the story that you want to read if you're a fan of Batman. It gets lost in the shuffle because, by the time, you figure that out, all the other,
Yeah, and like I said, it was great points all around on that. Like I said, it was just the whole Batman essence of me is kind of taking a tarnishing point on the fact that we enter him into every media now, and it's just it might be not too much, but overbearing for some, I would say.
I agree.
But the good thing about having all those titles is that there's essential readings we can all choose from. And
Right.
I'll let Sal start this off on what, his top 3 is, and I'll actually show you guys what he gave us right now as he talks about it.
All right. Hit it. All right. So starting with the first one, we got Batman Nightfall. That's the whole arc was incredible from start to finish. The breaking of the bat return, and Azazel or John Paul Valley stepping in as the bat. Just an excellent story all around. The next one, Hush. That was an amazing story, and it was one of my points where I said throws Lois Lane off the building to break Superman and Poison Ivy's spell. That was just a great story. And then, of course, for my last one, I got Batman Court of Owls. That I don't know. That one just screamed the essential Batman to me, and I just loved every page of that. So those are 3 must reads. If you never picked up a Batman book in your life, which I kind of doubt you haven't, but those are the 3 I would say are must reads.
Now, just to say real fast, Sal, if you had to choose one of those 3 just to hand to somebody that's trying to get into Batman, which one would it be?
Oh my God. Wow.
That's
Nightfall. I'm going with Nightfall.
Nightfall?
Batman Nightfall.
Okay.
Yep. That's a
right.
hard choice. But Nightfall. Just because of the epic fall and return, and
it shows the true hero's journey through that process.
Yes, exactly.
that is Joseph Campbell to a T right there.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Dan, what do you think? What would be your 3 if you had to give somebody that doesn't know anything about Batman choice to read in your eyes?
I got a lot of them here, but I will go with The Dark Knight Returns. I mean, that's not just not one of the best Batman stories ever. That's just one of the best comic stories ever. It came out in the mid 80s, right around 86 when Watchmen came out, and those 2 series, and to a lesser extent Squadron Supreme at Marvel, just kind of changed how everything was done in comics, where it's like, hey, you can tell these really mature, serious stories and people are really going to eat it up. But yeah, that one. And there's been so much stuff that's been used from that going forward. Like, especially, I mean, as bad as the Zack Snyder movies were, there's a lot of stuff that he took from Dark Knight Returns to use in those. Another one I'd say is The Long Halloween.
It's a good one.
That one is just, it's just fantastic. It goes through, like, Hush went through a lot of different, was good because it went through a lot of different villains and kind of gave them all their kind of little time to shine, but none of it really felt forced. The Long Halloween doesn't use as many, but it has a lot of different villains appear through it, and it is a really good ongoing mystery that lasts for a while, where he had, and it's early in his career, so it's not like he figures it out right away. So he's, you as the reader are figuring it out along with him when you get to the end. And wow, it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick
isn't it? It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. Because I got so many, I'm like, oh well, I'm thinking like, all right, well, let me say one that that might not otherwise get mentioned. Well, Jamie already kind of mentioned Under the Hood, so that one, we'll say that one's already on the list.
It's on my list.
I guess I'll go with one that's an out of continuity one, where DC does these books called Elseworlds, where it's kind of like how Marvel does What If. It's like, all right, we're going to take this character and we're going to put him in this completely different situation. Like, hey, here's Batman in the Old West, or here's Superman if he was raised in Russia. And so I'm going to go with the Elseworlds one, which was actually the first one. It's called Gotham by Gaslight.
Yep.
Where it was Batman in Victorian times when he was trying to go after Jack the Ripper and figure out who Jack the Ripper was and stop him. And it was a really cool read. They did an animated movie based on it, which was good. It wasn't as good as the book, as you know, the adaptions rarely are. It made some changes. It was still good. I definitely say watch it, but read the book first.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm gonna pose that same question to you now. Those top 3 that you have, if you had to give someone one of those to start off, which one would it be?
I guess I'd have to say Dark Knight Returns, just because, like I said, it's not just one of the best Batman stories ever. It's just, it's one of the top, it's one of the top 5 comic stories probably ever, for how it influenced the medium, and for what it did with that character, how much stuff it changed for the character going forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good choice. Good choice.
Definitely.
All right, Kevin, what do you got for us, bud?
So I got 2 of the same as you guys, but one different.
Okay.
Number
What were the
3,
2 same?
Nightfall, all of Nightfall. I mean, the one of the things that wasn't mentioned is that period where he had on that like Tengu, or not Tengu, that's Crow, but the bat Japanese mask, and he was getting retrained by Lady Shiva. That was a great section in that I don't think got enough love. Nightfall usually is like just the story, the trade paperback. It has the beginning, but there was a lot more to Nightfall in the spin-offs of that whole era. That was such a great run. Dick Grayson taking over, the whole thing was just an amazing run. I thought it was great. It was like Batman at its peak. So that was number 3. Number 1 is, of course, Dark Knight Returns. I mean, that pretty much brought in the Iron Age, the modern age of comics. It ushered in the anti-hero era of comics. The 90s, pretty much all of the 90s their runs to that seminal story, and it flavored all Batman stories and who the character was moving forward. Before that, it was always the brightly colored, silly, campy Batman. Dark Knight Returns made Batman like a great run and great character again. And number 2, I'm surprised nobody mentioned, was The Killing Joke.
Oh yeah.
That was on my list too. It was, like I said, it's hard to narrow down. You got
Very tough.
Don't worry,
Yeah.
I got 3 different ones. I marked that one off.
And they had several different variations of that. Some of them were a lot darker and adult oriented than the later editions of that. And I love the fact that at the end of the run, I'm not going to try it. I mean, you probably, if you haven't read it, I don't want to spoil it, but at the very end, it's kind of open to interpretation. Does Batman finish his interactions and dynamic with the Joker, or doesn't he? I love that like ambiguity regarding that. That was just the perfect ending to that, because could be either way. It was such a great run, and I love the fact that it focused entirely upon the complex relationship between those two characters. Thought that was wonderful.
All right, good choices. And for my 3, it's in no particular order. Okay. So first I'm going to go with Batman Eternal, which I thought was a fantastic run in the sense of I had no idea when I got back into comics that how predominant the Riddler could be in a series. My second would be Dark Knight's Metal. And the reason for that is all of the offshoot single one-shot issues on how he actually took over everybody's powers to become this alternative Batman. Because as I said earlier, the whole detective process, it actually explains how he does it in the story, you know, and how that came to fruition. And I would say if I had to pick a number one, this would be my number one, and that's Batman White Knight.
Yeah.
Is that the
That's a good
one
one, too.
where? Is that the one where the Joker is the good guy and Batman is the bad
They
guy?
flip, they
Yeah.
turn the flip on it and make
And
him the
they've
good
done
guy.
a bunch of continuation series of it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like the one with John Paul Valley, which was Curse of the White Knight. They had White Knight presents Harley Quinn. Right now they're doing Batman Beyond the White Knight, and then they had White Knight presents Red Hood, which is a
Yeah.
totally different telling of the Red Hood, which I actually enjoyed. But yeah, those would be my three in that particular, not particular order, but at least order.
You know, it's funny. I haven't read any of those. And
Oh,
now
you gotta dive into them. They are for me. They're a must.
Yeah.
I have to. Yeah. Okay.
White
Especially-
Knight, especially that one's
Especially White Knight.
that one's
Mhm.
really good because it, yeah, like he said, it kind of flips the script
Mm.
on the whole relationship with Joker, and not just with Joker and Batman,
The
but with
whole
Batman
cast,
and
the whole
Gotham
family.
City. But like especially with Batman and how the people of Gotham perceive him
Mm.
in relation to what he does and the Joker and everything else.
All right. Fine. It's on my list.
It's on the
And
to-do list.
I'll
I
throw
should
one
probably-
more extra one out because I'm surprised that none of us mentioned it. Like I said, is Year One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, real fast, if anyone wants to catch and see and listen to what I'm talking about when I say Batman White Knight, go check out the YouTube channel at the Codex Station. We have a decoding panels episode with all the issues, you know, basically summarized for you, so you can go through and listen to it and get an idea of what it is.
Did you just
point.
mention that as your number one, just to hype the group?
No, because
No,
I was
no.
the one that showed everyone that book.
Synergy.
Fair.
You don't want me to do it for the show anymore? Okay, we're good.
It's called Segway, man. Just let it
Segue.
ride.
Perfect.
You gotta let it go, Kevin. You gotta let it go. Just let it go. Like Frozen. But no, speaking of all those great, you know, interactions of what we would read, let's get into some of the best writer artists. And Dan, you want to start us off with that, bud?
All right, I got. I'll just run through the list pretty quick. I got 4 artists and I think 6 or 7, or 4 writers and 6 or 7 artists on mine. So for
Let's
writer,
go. I was gonna say with that, let's go with the top writer and artist for you on that aspect. That way, because if you go through the 5 to 7, we're probably gonna have the same ones.
Mm.
all right. Oh, that's tough.
Like if you see Batman, who do you think's writing and who do you think's the artist?
I don't know because for writer, I guess I might have to go with Denny O'Neil. With the stuff that he did, that really even like Dark Knight Returns really cemented Batman as just being a wholly serious character. But really before that, you know, the stuff that he was writing for DC for characters like Batman and for Green Arrow was what really started to push the boundaries of, you know, of what they could do and making stuff serious and not really campy. He had introduced some great characters, some really great storylines. And for artists, I'll probably have to go with, even though he didn't do the most amount of stuff, I'll have to go with Jim Lee, but that's also, I'm biased because Jim Lee's my favorite artist. But you know, like the stuff, I mean, so many Batman images that you see on t-shirts and media out right now is stuff that Jim Lee drew, which, you know, granted, it's because Jim Lee's president of DC now, so he's gonna put his stuff out. And it's also interesting that before he left to do Image Comics, he was in negotiations with DC to leave X-Men and go to DC to draw Batman. So we could have gotten Jim Lee on Batman as early as the early '90s, which didn't happen, but that would have been interesting to see how different things could have been.
Was that 92? Something like that.
Yeah, I forget. It was sometime in the early '90s when they all left to form Image, but he was in talks with DC at the time to go draw Batman, and McFarlane and Liefeld were like, "Come start this other company with us."
Right. Yeah.
All right, Kev. Who do you got, bud?
Same.
Same.
I mean, okay. All right. I will have to exactly the same, but I will have to give Alex Ross a shout out as well. But other than that, yeah, Alex Ross, Jim Lee, and Dennis O'Neil is the answer for that one.
Okay, Sal.
Okay, for artists, I got several, but I'll just kind of run through them really quick. I like Capullo's work. I like Frank Miller's work. I like Todd McFarlane's work. It just they really give me the classic Batman or the Batman essential to me. So that's they work for me. So as far as for writing, I like Jeff Loeb because he did Hush. His stuff was good. Neil Adams can't go wrong with Neil Adams. Come on,
good point.
And I like Denny O'Neil. I do, and I also Frank Miller. So I'm going to go with 4 on that one.
Miller. Good call on McFarlane. His take was
with the 30-foot cape.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
As far as badass covers, I got that. I got that one for badass covers.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for me personally, I would probably go, if I had to pick, one for each, I would say Snyder as my writer.
Yeah,
I love what he did with Court of Owls. I love what everything with the Death in the Family.
The family was great.
I thought that even when he did Eternal, that was great.
Mm-hmm.
As for artists, you guys obviously have named the top, tier. For me, I'm gonna go with Jimenez then. Right now, I think he does a great work with Batman. I think he does a fantastic Joker with it too. So it correlates one and another. They had that synergy there that, they actually look like what I see when I want to see Batman and Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Who I know that it was probably different artists, but who was the main dude behind the art behind Joker Wars?
Jimenez.
There you go. Okay.
Because I think it was a mix. I think it was certain books there was Tony S. Daniel, and in other books it was Jimenez.
Is the one that has the Joker with like the bat symbol as his eyes? Is that Jimenez? You know what I'm talking about?
The one that he was showing earlier for the detective.
Yeah.
No, that was Detective 880 or something.
So. Let me look that up.
Yeah, look that one up. Pull that up, Sale.
Yeah.
Stand by, please. That's gorgeous. That cover.
Yeah, I used to have that poster, but that left when I left Illinois.
Someone else with like McFarlane who drew a Batman with a big cape that was pretty good was Norm. I don't even know if I pronounce his last name right. Norm Brayfogle.
Okay,
great one.
Not
if you Google Norm Brayfogle Batman, the images will come up. You'll instantly recognize his work.
Okay. Shoot me a text with that name, would you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that works. Well, I guess last thing we have is some covers.
All right.
If you guys want to talk about some of those iconic covers, and I guess Sal, do you want to start this off since I have your cover?
Yep. But stand by 1 second. That Detective Comics 880. Let's see. Writer, penciler, inkers, colors, letters, editor. Oh, hold on. Artist was Jacques.
Oh, is Jacques?
So
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
No wonder.
So
stuff too.
Yep.
He's got a new series coming out that looks pretty good.
Yeah, I just read One Dark Night. That was good.
I like his work a lot.
All All right, so for my badass cover, go ahead and throw that up there, Jamie. Batman number was it 423? I think that's
Beautiful.
423 if I remember right. That's just a awesome cover. I just love the cape with the bats in the background, awesome. And as far as a single shot story, also good because you see Batman from everybody's perspective in that book.
Yeah, I remember that. That was really, really a great take.
Yeah. So Kevin, we'll get yours up there right now, bud. You tell us which one it is, and
All right. Honestly, now that I posted it, I probably should have put the one on there that actually had the issue number. I don't remember what issue this was, but
this is the beginning of Hush, isn't it?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
No,
issue.
608. Batman 608. The
608.
second print. Because
Okay,
the
so I
first print's the
looked
one where he's like kicking with the boot.
Mhm.
Right.
The connecting
So I
cover
looked
with
it up.
Superman.
Yeah.
So I looked it up, and it's Batman number 608. And this is the first issue of Hush, like Dan was saying, and it's the first issue that I've ever seen with Jim Lee's art and take on Batman, and that I think is just one of the most iconic pictures of Batman that I've seen anywhere. It's everywhere all the time, and when I think of Batman, that's exactly the picture that I see in my head.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
Dan. I know you got one or two.
Yeah, mine was that that older one. I don't know, did you get it when I sent it to you?
I did not see it.
All right, I got a printout of it. I can hold it. It's an old one from 1939. It's
wow.
Detective Comics number 31.
Oh, right. Is that the Mad Monk?
It's just it's just such a fantastic, you're right, the Monk. It's a fantastic cover. It's kind of got this eerie kind of old school vampire look to it as well. And I know Neil Adams kind of did an homage cover to it later on, but to me that just kind of encapsulates the eeriness of Batman, with the moon in the back and the clouds, and he's just kind of there with the cape covering most of them except for the bat symbol. It's just really striking. If you see something like that on the newsstand, you're definitely going to want to pick it up and say like, oh, what's this? What's going on here?
Right.
Right.
Jamie?
Did you? I was say, did you have another one, or is that the only one that you
Um,
had up for that one?
Yeah, I mean, I had a few of them. I also had the Hush one that Kevin had. I also had the Todd McFarlane one that Sal had. One that I think is really striking, and it's not the cover to an issue; it's the cover to the trade for another great Batman story, A Death in the Family, when they killed.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just a scene.
Good thing I switched mine.
Yeah, and it's just a scene from the book where they put that on, on the cover. But that image of him holding the beaten, dead body of Robin, and then just the stark black background that it just says it all. And then you see his face covered in shadows, but you do kind of see a little bit on the eyebrows where it looks like he might be crying, and it's just especially with that black background, like it's just so striking.
It's stark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I voted to die.
So I'm gonna go with that, but I'm gonna make him unalive again.
Yeah.
635 for me.
Oh man, that is gorgeous.
It's a Matt Wagner cover, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah,
that's awesome.
That's the one that caught my eye when I got back into it, and I couldn't stop with Red Hood from that point on.
Very good. Very good. Good choices, everybody.
That was a good storyline too.
Very good. Stretched out even in the annuals, which was great. So
yeah.
All right. So we have gone through pretty much everything we could think of with Batman for this episode.
I'm pretty sure we can come up with more.
I know we could. But we got a structure now.
There's a lot. There's a lot out there to cover.
I
Yes.
mean, okay, so to end it, basically, is there any like last thoughts? Feelings, objections on the character? I'll let Sale take this one away
Okay.
before we close this out.
Everything we have said here barely scratches the surface of Batman. Barely scratches. This is like the very tip of the iceberg. Because once you hit that tip and start going in to dive deeper into the Batman realm and the world, it's like a never-ending pit. It's like Alice in Wonderland down the rabbit hole. You're going to keep falling. So there's tons of stuff of Batman world stuff. I'll say that you may not like something else, but you'll like this part of the Batman world. There's just so much out there that you can get into.
All right, Dan.
I'll say if you are interested in getting to Batman, now is a good time to do it. Like we said, there's a ton of miniseries and regular series and stuff that come out every week. Any week you go to the comic shop, there will be a new issue of some kind of Batman thing. But even if you want to just stick to the core books, Batman and Detective Comics, both of those books just started new directions with new creative teams. This is the newest issue of Batman. I think this came out this week, right?
Yeah,
Last
week.
Last week, yeah. This came out last week. I think it's the second or third part of the series. Yeah, it's the third part of the series with new writer, new artist, new direction. So it's a great jumping on point. And then this is the newest issue of Detective Comics that came out, I think, 2 weeks ago. That is the second part of the story. And again, new writer, new artist that just started. So you can jump on with both of those series and get going and not have to buy, you don't have to buy 20 issues leading up to them to see where these storylines are.
Right.
Good point.
Very good point, Kev.
So I just thought of something that I had a thought about with Batman a little while ago, and if I were to, hypothetically speaking, DC company said, we want you to write a Batman story, the thought I had is I would love to do a maxi series or maybe an ongoing for however long the momentum lasted about pre-Batman, of his travels around the world training to become who he will become. How he learned how to do the escape artistry, how he learned the psychology, how he learned the martial arts styles, how he trained to become Batman. I think that would be a run that kind of is strangely absent. I mean, I know that there has been occasionally an issue or two out there about that, but I think there's a lot to be told about the late teenager, early 20s Bruce Wayne before the bat crashed into his study and inspired him to become a full-on superhero. I thought that would be a neat run.
DC, if you're listening, Kevin is available.
For the
I'm
right
open to
price.
negotiation. Yes.
Yes.
For the right price. Let me tell you. He doesn't come cheap.
I'm open to negotiation.
So cheap. No,
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, like I said, you guys brought up good points. Yeah, we've only, scratched the tip of the iceberg, but I think we gave a fair point to those out there that are trying to get into comics, where to start, where to look for, give them an idea overall of what Batman is and, what to find and what to look into, because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. Give you guys an outlet so that way you guys can learn a little bit more and, maybe even take some of our word for it and try something new, but with what you guys were saying, as far as now is probably the best time to jump into it, with everything that Batman's got going on. I mean, at one point there was 12 titles that were Batman or Batman adjacent out at one point, and those were the only comics that were out. So now is a great jumping on point if you're trying to get into the lore of Batman. Not saying to go all the way back to, Detective Comics, but to start now and start fresh, now's a great time to do so.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'd like to add is the current writer of Batman is James Tynion the Fourth, and that
Current writer now is Chip Zdarsky.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tinian
oh,
left.
my bad.
Tinian had some great books.
Yeah, but Tynion had some good stuff coming out with Miracle Molly and
right, but also
he introduced a lot of new characters.
But Chip Zdarsky is also, yes, he's also on fire. Everything that Zdarsky writes is hot, and this would be a great time. If you could only choose one, I would recommend the main Batman title that Chip Zdarsky is running. It's probably the most intriguing thing that I've read in quite some time.
You can't go wrong with a book that he writes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
True.
He just hits fire every time. But
yes,
with that being said, I feel like we can close this out. I'm going to give everyone a little time to tell the audience where to find you and, any last words. So Sal, kick us off. Where can we find you? And any last words for the episode, bud?
Okay. So you can find me on YouTube at Sal's Comic Corner. I do various videos of unboxing, mail calls, and also boxing up books to be sent out and books to be prepped to be slabbed. So come check me out. As far as any last words, dive in. Just dive in and start reading something. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, and if you guys check out his YouTube, videos and his channel, make sure you check out the Painter's Tape edition. That is exquisite.
Yes.
Dan, where can they find you? And you have anything last to say, bud?
Yeah, you can check me out on my Instagram page, Dan Kelly Art, or you can just go on there and type it, hashtag Dan Kelly Art, and click on something. It'll bring up all my stuff. That's Kelly with an EY. And I post my art on there and music. Commissions are open. And just check out what I'm putting up there. And am actually in the process of working on my own comic, which should be hopefully within the next few months published.
Ooh.
So we'll see.
awesome.
Now, Kevin, buddy, we're talking about comic character of the day and give us some parting words, bud.
All right. So when I started the Codex station, no, I'm sorry.
I was like, hang on. Wait a minute.
Are we in an alternate version? Alternate universe here?
When I came to Jamie in a dream and told him to start his podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
In his head.
And everyone wonders why I wake up crying every morning.
So my group is Comic Character of the Day, and we're on Facebook, and we're once again very proud of the non-toxic community that is the environment there. I post a character of the day, and I don't have who it is because I want kind of people to guess or get intrigued about, like, I don't know who this is, which creates a conversation around it. And I post a cover that I think is cool every day. Dan generally adds a question, and we would love to have you join up and take part and join the family. And we look forward to seeing you soon. And one of the things that Jamie usually adds to his parting farewell is be kind to each other. Great advice. I love that, Jamie. Thank you so much for that. But one of the things that I would like to add is it's as equally important for you to be kind to yourselves. I know that I'm a lot kinder to others than I am to myself. And part of the healing process to be able to do that is to forgive yourself and have this just much understanding for everyone as you do for yourself and vice versa. And love all of y'all.
Yeah.
Awesome, Kev. Thanks for those parting words. And guys, as always, you know what I'm about to do. Go check out the CodexStation.com for your one-stop shop of everything Codex. like I said, get some merch. Every little bit helps here. Guys, give us a like, follow, or subscribe. All of our socials are listed on there. You guys can message us directly. Let us know what you like, dislike. I mean, give us a comment down below too. You know, hit that like button, hit the dislike button. You know, I'll cry for every dislike, and I'll be happy for every like.
Every
But-
like that you hit, an angel gets its wings.
No. But every like we get, you get a Slab Fairy custom under your
What?
pillow in the morning.
Whoa, hey,
So
hello.
if we can get this up to 100, the Slab Fairy's gonna come take a picture with you, putting the slab under your pillow.
Free lunch, man.
Yeah.
What?
So-
What?
But yeah, guys, again, go check out Comic Character Day. I'm so thrilled to have this very first episode of Codex Comic Character of the Week. It's been great. We're going to keep it going for you all. And guys, as always, like Kevin said earlier, be kind to one another out there. You never know what anyone's going through, and even making someone smile could change the course of their day or life. So always be kind. And guys and gals out there, as always, we will see you in the next one.